All right. Well, I want to welcome everyone. Again, happy that you are all here. We're going to be giving you some just few instructions, but definitely dive into the content. I know you're excited to hear what we have to share today. You are here today for the Building End-to-End Experiences with WhatsApp business platform. And to take you through this journey today, we have Dmitry Vinnik, who is a lead developer advocate at Meta. He focuses on open source and business messaging. Now, Dimitri has been working with WhatsApp products for a while. He has written several blog posts about how the WhatsApp platform, the business platform, works. And additionally, he has worked on courses on this very topic for the Meta Blueprint. As Dimitri continues being a developer first, he also applies the same mindset of passion when working with other APIs, creating new educational content, and perhaps at times talking at conferences and different webinar sessions such as this one. Now, before we dive into the rest of this program, I just wanted to ask Dimitri a quick question. Dimitri, how is it that people can use the features in WhatsApp for their businesses?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's a great question. So obviously, as some of you might have already tuned into our conversations earlier this year and now into this webinar, you might have seen these metrics that there are over 2 billion users worldwide, and WhatsApp has become really integral to how businesses engage with their customers to scale this better customer communication. The WhatsApp business platform lets you communicate with your customers at scale through programmatic means. In today's webinar, we'll really walk you through building this end-to-end experience so you get to both send messages and receive them. And that will create this end-to-end flow. So again, you can work with your customers more efficiently and more effectively. We'll also talk about things like webhooks, access tokens, and everything else you need to set up a proper app for your business and get your business going off the ground or take it to the next level.
Excellent. Well, that was a great answer. I appreciate that, Dimitri. Now, for our audience, just a few things here for us to look at right now. So for this next portion of the webinar, we're going to set you up with a pre-recorded file, a video that's going to be playing for you. Now, we wanted to make sure that we covered everything, one, and that everything was working properly. So we did this pre-recording for you, and it's available for you to watch now. I want to encourage you to stick around after the pre-recorded part, because we are going to come back with the questions that you all submitted during the registration process. And boy, let me tell you, we have some great questions that came in. So please make sure that you stick around so that we can answer those questions for you.
All right, let's dive right into building end-to-end experiences with WhatsApp Business Platform. First, we'll need to go to Meta for Developers environment. For that, we'll go to developers.facebook.com. In this example, I'll start with nothing prepared. So basically, I do not have a developer account yet. You'll see Get Started tab. You'll need to press that. It will prompt you to add some information, verify your account with the proper phone number, and connect it with your Facebook account. After you finish with that, you'll be redirected to a developer application dashboard. And let me show you just that. So let me close this. All right, I already have myself logged in, and with having a developer account, I will see my apps tab. I'll go to right to my apps. Here you'll see some options with existing applications, but for us, we'll go and create a new app. You'll need to choose the business type first. Go to next. Let's name our application. For this, we'll call it WhatsApp Webinar Demo. Make sure you put your contact information. If you do not have a business manager account yet, it will be created for you. But you can also pick one if you're already using other applications with Meta for Developers. So let's imagine we have nothing prepared. Create an app. It will prompt you to re-log in. So let's do just that. Okay. Then it will log us in, and we are in. So this is what we call app dashboard. Here you can choose products you want to connect with. And for our demo today, for our webinar, we will pick WhatsApp product, which is WhatsApp Business Platform and its Cloud API. We'll also talk about webhooks later on, but we'll begin with WhatsApp. So let's add this product. Okay? It will ask you to pick a Meta business account if you have one. If you don't, it will be created for you. So let's continue. Give it a moment to actually create an account for you. In today's webinar, I'll demonstrate something that's coming down the line. It's the new onboarding experience with a so-called quick start. It will show you a quick links to documentation, to some tutorials that we have at Meta Blueprint, and many other resources that can be useful for you. As you can see it here, again, direct link to developer documentation, link to some additional resources, which I can view, including courses, contact information, and more. But let's go back to our quick start. All right, now we can see where we will begin using WhatsApp Business Platform. For us, we'll go right ahead and start using the API. So let's see how it works. Okay. So for this example, you can treat it as a playground. It's basically a quick way to begin using the API. And so in this case, you can see the temporary access token generated for us. But again, make sure you know that it's temporary. It has a test phone number that was created for your app. It has phone number ID, WhatsApp business account ID, all the important information we'll use later on. Then you'll need to specify a recipient's phone number. I already have a prepared phone number for this webinar, so let me add that phone number just in a moment. All right, so this is the phone number we'll be using today. It's a real phone number. It will send me a verification code on WhatsApp. I already have my WhatsApp desktop app ready. So let me grab the code. Go back, verify. Now we're good to go. We have our recipient, or you can think of it as a customer, phone number specified. Then right below you'll see an example of a post request where we basically call on Graph API of latest version 15, with the phone number ID, your phone number ID, calling to the endpoint of messages with this following payload. You will have an authorization token, access token from above. You will have to specify a message product as WhatsApp. You'll need to say that the type of a message is a template message, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Then you specify what the name of the template is and the language in which you want to communicate with the recipient. So for us, what's important to note is that Graph API is basically an API that communicates with anything to do with Meta infrastructure. In the case of WhatsApp Business Platform API, Cloud API in this case, it's an extension of Graph API. So anything you can read in the developer documentation on Meta for developers with Graph API will help you to learn about WhatsApp Business Platform in more details. This is why we are calling on graph.facebook.com. But these are details. For us, especially for this webinar, let's take that for granted and let's make this quick call. Send the message. Message was sent successfully. Now let's check our WhatsApp. You can see that I've received a message just now with a header "Hello World" with text and the name of the business. In our case, it's WhatsApp Business API team. Fantastic. We're already sending messages from the get-go. So let's take a look of what we actually did. If I go back to the quick start, it will let us go to message templates right away. Message templates is basically a type of messages that you can send with WhatsApp Business Platform that lets you scale your communication and improve that. Basically, it's the way to structure your communication with customers. It can be just plain text like we just seen, but it can also be something more complex like sample flight confirmation. It will be attaching the ticket, then some verifications of where the person might be flying, allow you to insert variables in your API calls. So it's very powerful. But more importantly is that there is a very core concept to WhatsApp Business Platform I want to touch on, is that there are two types of communications you can have with your customers. One is user-initiated, is when your users write messages to you, where they initiate the conversation. Let's say they ask you a question. From that point on, within 24 hours, you have ability to answer that question or basically send follow-up messages with no charge. But then after 24 hours or if you as a business initiate a new conversation, this is what's called business initiated conversation. And these type of messages have to be sent using message templates, which you have to go through this UI or using WhatsApp Business Management API. Then they will be approved by Meta team, reviewed and approved by Meta team. They can be localized, they're quite powerful, but in that case, we can actually monitor the quality of your communication as well. In that case, if, let's say, you're using these templates to talk to your customers, to have business-initiated conversations, but for whatever reason, they've been blocked, they've been reported by customers, then there will be some effect to your messaging tier. For more about pricing, you can read on our developer documentation under pricing. We go into details of how it's structured, what are the tiers, what are the charges, and where it works. But this is the core concept, is that message templates is basically what we use to initiate conversations as a business, but also it's a way to scale your communication. So with that, and basically us already getting started with the API usage, let's actually try to create an app. This app will be allowing our customers to buy movie tickets and get confirmations from us via the WhatsApp API. And then the last part of this webinar will be actually creating the full dialogue with the customer where we can actually reply to their questions. And that's where we'll use webhooks. So let's dive right into the code. One more thing I want to mention is that all the code is hosted on Meta GitHub account, so you don't have to try to copy while I'm giving this webinar. You can always just follow along and try to learn as much as you can. So as I mentioned, we are hosting the code for this webinar on the Meta GitHub organization. Under WhatsApp API examples, you can find different ways to integrate with the API. It can be through Java, it can be with Python and JavaScript. For this webinar, we'll rely on JavaScript. In particular, we'll use Node.js for actually writing the code. We'll use Express.js for running our web server locally. And we will rely on Visual Studio Code as our IDE, as our environment to write the code in. So let's, without further ado, take a look at the code. In my case, I have cloned the repo that I just showed you, but I made some alterations. So for us, again, because this is not a webinar about building the web app, it's about integrating the API, I'm gonna take some things for granted. You will see a lot of boilerplate code here, lots of routes, views, that don't really concern us. You'll find movies, with titles, links to their thumbnail, and more. You'll find again some routes, but our main focus will be around the API. Let's first see how the app actually looks like. Let's start the app. Let's go to our server. Let's go to localhost 3000. And this is the app. I'm able to log in and see the catalog of movies. I can pick how many seats I want to buy, and ultimately I would love to get the confirmation from the purchase. So let's actually see how we can integrate the API. First, I want to actually greet my customer when they log in, and also I want to obviously send them the confirmation they purchased the ticket. Let's see how we can do that. So for us, we'll go and we create something called messagehelper.js. Think of it as a wrapper around the API, around the Graph API, or in our case, WhatsApp Business Platform API. Let's see how we can do it. So first, we'll have the send message that passes the data. Axios, by the way, is the package that lets us make HTTP requests really quickly. So let's see how we can do it. So we need to return the Axios request with this payload. You can think of it as basically copy-paste to what you've seen on the UI that I just showed you, that playground. It's going to be a post request to the graph.facebook.com with the API version, business phone number ID to the messages endpoint, with the token, access token, with the data. That's about all. That's how it's like generic wrapper that we're going to use. Well, but more importantly, before we go any further, let's see what these environment variables are. So first is the API version. For us, if you remember from the playground, the current version is 15.0. The access token for this webinar, let's just grab the temporary one. Let's go back to our using the API, copy the temporary access token, pasted. All right, halfway done. Recipient phone number, it's the phone number we're gonna send messages to. So for us, if you remember that correctly, it's this phone number. You can again grab it right from here, so you don't have to worry about formatting. No special characters. You can notice that there is a code, the country code with no plus symbol up front that you need to add. And lastly, you need to add the business phone number ID, not the phone number, but the ID of that phone number. And you can also grab it from here. Okay, now we're good to go. Let's, by the way, close this so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, let's now go here, back to our wrapper. Now we also need to be able to format our message input. Let's have this simple example. Again, I'm not going to write this out. It's a waste of time. More importantly, I'll actually walk through this example to explain what it is. Messaging product, WhatsApp, because Meta has several messaging products available. Preview URL set to false, meaning in our case, we have no URLs in the message itself, so there is no need to be able to preview them. Recipient type is an individual. You send in this message to an individual, your customer. Have to specify recipient phone number. A type of a message is text, hence name of this function. And lastly, the text message itself. And lastly, and more importantly, let's look at the templated message input. Very similar, but the type now is template, and it has a template property parameter to specify. A name of the template. This is one of those templates that WhatsApp Business Platform has created for you by default. That's why we're actually building this sample, because it's easier to get started. Language, the translation we're going to rely on. And this piece is something I actually want to walk through a bit more closely. The header contains a thumbnail of the movie. A body will have title, movie time, venue, and seats. Please try to remember these parameters just for one moment. And let's go back to the UI. Go to WhatsApp Manager, find that template. Okay, don't forget it's English. Remember the header, media, image, thumbnail has to match. A body, there are 4 properties, 4 variables here, and there are 4 variables I had to specify in my call. The same way, the first is what the movie is, when, where, and number of seats. That's how it looks like. And then you also have a quick preview right here. But it has to match, but it just shows you the power of this API using the message templates right in here. And with that, we finish writing our quick wrapper, and we can go ahead and start using the API. So first, as I said, let's welcome our customer when they log in. It's again fairly straightforward. You need to generate the data, who you're sending it to, and what the message is going to say. You're going to send the message. If it works, let's go to the catalog of movies. If it fails, print me an error message. Okay? Now, let's restart the app, go back, go to our local host. Let's go press login and see if we get the message. And we got the message. And by the way, the only reason why we are getting this message is because the customer, myself before, wrote them the message, hello, within 24 hours. Because this welcome to our movie site was a simple text message, not a templated message. So this is still what's called user-initiated message. Basically for that, business won't be charged. And again, I was able to do it without using the message templates. If the customer did not reply, the customer would never have received this message even. So let's take a look. Now here in the catalog, we would want to purchase the ticket and get the confirmation in our inbox, in our WhatsApp. Let's take a look. Let's go to our VS Code. Let's navigate to buy tickets and let's change that a bit. Let's find the movie the customer picks from the request. Then let's generate the data. Again, fairly straightforward. From the movie, you'll get the title, the place, a time, number of seats, recipient phone number, send the message, successful, go back to the catalog, print error message. Again, very straightforward here. Let's restart. Let's go to our catalog. Let's refresh. Okay, we just refreshed. Let's buy 2 tickets because I want to grab a friend and go to watch this movie, and then press buy. Okay, it worked. Now let's go to our WhatsApp, and I just received the confirmation. I have 2 tickets in Electric Cinema on October 23rd for this awesome movie, Airborne 404, with a thumbnail right there. With this, we basically built an integration with a send message API. We used both user-initiated and business-initiated messages because we were able to use text messages as well as the message templates. But the thing is, a customer, let's say they want to ask a question or just say, plainly say thank you. There's no way for us to send a survey following that because we don't have a way to process it yet. For that, we'll use webhooks to create the full dialogue with the customer. So we're able to react to the conversation, to the messages from our clients. So let's go into this final part of this webinar. So let's first clean up a bit. Let's remove some of the opened tabs we have here. Let's go back to our app dashboard. Again, you can go back to the quick start. Easy way to start working with webhooks. You'll find webhooks right here. So let's configure webhooks. Bring us right to configuration. You can also go through the webhooks products as well, but it's just easier to go through configurations under WhatsApp. It will be asking us for a callback URL and verification token. So for us to get started with webhooks, actually can quickly do that by going to developer documentation. Then in here, find webhooks. In here, again, you can find examples for you. There is a sample app endpoint using Glitch, and it has a follow along tutorial for you to use. If you were to go to Remix on Glitch, you'll be able to clone an existing project and make it your own and generate this webhook URL, at least for testing purposes. Let me go to Glitch myself. I already have cloned this repository. Glitch is basically an environment to build web apps really quickly. In our case, to build a webhook endpoint. I can go to my dashboard. I'll find this already an existing webhook code that I wrote. I altered the tutorial that one of the developers behind the WhatsApp Business platform has done. So here you'll see a quick README. You'll find app.js and package.json. Very important is to go to environment first. Here you'll see very similarly to what we did with the VS Code for send API message. You'll need to put verified token. This is basically the token that will be used during the verification of your endpoint. It has to be a plain string. Let's say it's gonna say with webhook. Something that's not easy to guess, but for this web tutorial, fairly easy. Access token has to match what we had in our send API message. So let's keep using the token. Okay. Then we go to our environment. Yes, let's paste it right here. API version, if you remember that correctly, it's still 15 at the time of this tutorial. And lastly, business phone number ID. Again, you can quickly grab it from here. And we're done with all the variables. That's half the work, right? Now let's go into the actual code. Lots of things written, but let's actually step through. Some of it is just prerequisites to be able to run the server, the webhook. It listens to a particular port, tells us that the webhook is listening. So you don't need to change that. But what we're going to work with is the webhook endpoint. We here have default example that was done in this as part of the tutorial that I just showed, and also the one I wrote for us. Let's hide the one I wrote for now. And let's take a look below. This is what's done during the verification request by the WhatsApp product. It will check the verified token, a challenge. We don't need to worry about that too much. You can just copy paste that for the most part. The way it works, the webhook, it will, in this example, it will receive a request, receive the message. It will do the verification that there is actually a message. You can see this payload in the examples on documentation or through Postman. It will retrieve a phone number from that payload. It'll be able to respond to this, whatever customer message they might be receiving, just responded back with a prefix acknowledged. That's basically what the webhook does in this case. Receives the message and sends it back saying, I acknowledge your message. And this is basically the boilerplate code you might just have to get used to. So it's already running, as you can see here. For us to grab this webhook, let's go to share. Let's grab this live site URL, copy paste that. Okay, we copied it. Go to our webhook setup. Where is it? Let's go back. Let's go to configuration, because I might have just closed it. Go to edit, callback URL / webhook. And if you forget these steps, webhook setup documentation has explained. Verified token field is what we specified in the variable. It's for us, it's VA webhook. Again, it has to match what you set up here, all right? Because ultimately, in this verification piece, you are making sure it matches what's set in here in this UI. Let's verify and save. If it works, it will be saved. Fantastic, it worked. We were able to verify our webhook and it's running. Now we need to actually subscribe to fields we would want. In our case, we would want to go with messages. You also have different fields you want to track, like the status of your templates, account updates, phone number updates. For us, let's subscribe to messages. Now let's see how we can handle messages from our customer. Let's say customer wants to say thank you again. And we're supposed to give an acknowledgement. You can see that we just acknowledged as shown in our webhook, right? So we just send back the message body. You can see how powerful this functionality can be and lets you build chatbots, because you can process the message whatever way you'd like. And from that, you can send a text message, or you can also send message templates with the pre-written information or response. So let's do just that. Let's create a message template that we can send. Similarly to before, we'll have a templated message input, same as we did with message helper. We will call this template thank you read more. So let's go back to our WhatsApp manager. Let's create a template. Let's call it promotional, give it the same name I want it. Make sure it's English US, right? So let's continue. So let's say, please visit our website. Have a button, in our case, call to action. Let's not call a phone number. Let's give a website meta for developers. And let's send them to meta for developers, right? Let's do just that. And with that, let's create this template. Let's submit it for review. Okay. Now, it's going to take some time for the review, but meanwhile, let's go and see how we can send that webhook. As I said before, we'll make it similar to message helper, the same send API. But instead of processing and calling the acknowledge message, let's call my show movie integration, which, as I said, we just call in the template. Let's clear it. So now let's go to our WhatsApp. So let's say no problem. And we'll reply with the visit our website. It will redirect us to developers.facebook.com. This is what's called an interactive message template, by the way, because it has call to action buttons. But these details you can find on developer documentation at Meta for Developers. So with that, we really done end-to-end experience for our movie ticket website. There is a way for us to send API requests and messages to customers, but also we can process the replies with using webhooks. So with that, we're almost done. The final last thing I want to mention is how to actually make us more production ready. So for that, one thing I want to mention is the fact that obviously Glitch is awesome for demos and webinars, but in reality, if you were to have a production scenario, I would want to use something that I can rely on a bit more. In our case, we'll go to blog business.whatsapp.com. You can find our blog where we're actually going into details of how to use webhooks with WhatsApp Business Platform. In particular, using serverless framework and AWS Lambdas. With that, you actually have the use of one of the big cloud providers to run your webhook reliably. And in that case, again, these steps will just show you how to deploy it there, but this webinar that I just gave you will explain how to actually write the code for this webhook. And the last thing I want to say is the fact that in our example, we of course had this temporary token, which is nice. It's a nice way to play with it and get started. But obviously you wouldn't want to refresh your token every 24 hours. So the thing you need to do is to create permanent access token. For that, let's go to our WhatsApp manager, navigate to our business, go to business settings. In there, ultimately, we just need to get to business settings for us. You go to system users. So what I would need to do is to create a system user. I would accept policies, system user. Make sure you pick admin, create system user. It will take some time to create it. Then I will be creating a token for us. So give it a moment, accept the policy, generate new token. Let's pick an app. You need to pick the permissions, whatever is most appropriate to you, whatever token you want to use. I would want to have business management, the WhatsApp business messaging, WhatsApp business management, because I would also want to use WhatsApp business management API in the future. I would generate the token. But also, some people would recommend just picking all the permissions. I'm more on choosing a particular permissions that I would use. Generate a token for us. Make sure you keep that, because we don't save it anywhere else. So if you were to lose it, you will have to regenerate the token. You would also need to add asset, which is choose an app, your app, manage permission, save changes. And we're done. Now we have a token that I just copied from here. You have to replace it all the places, API on the app and also the webhook. You are now one more step forward in making a production ready app. You'll also need to verify your business, set up the business phone number. All these steps are very well documented in our developer documentation. Thank you for being with me in this coding part of the webinar.
All right, everyone. Well, I want to welcome everyone back. I hope that this portion was educational. You were able to take something from it and learn a couple of things. Now, this is the fun part. As I stated earlier, when we started, we're going to be looking at some of those questions that you all submitted during the registration process. We had a great time looking at these questions and coming up with pertinent answers for you all so that we can all take something from it today. Dimitri, are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you everybody for joining us.
Absolutely. So the first question is, Dimitri, for you, what are the enhanced tools within the WhatsApp business platform that can assist a business company in bringing them close to customers? Again, for our audience, what are the enhanced tools within the WhatsApp business platform that can assist a business company in bringing them close to customers?
Yeah, again, great question. And I can't recommend enough a Meta Blueprint resource, because it actually has a courses dedicated to WhatsApp business platform where we went into details for this exact question, for these additional advanced features of WhatsApp business platform. So if I were to go into details for that, the first thing I have to mention is the chatbot platform. In this webinar, I kind of showed you briefly in how you can start building your chatbot experience, especially with the webhooks, where you can process your customers' replies in an automated manner and send them the reply, promotional message, whatever else you deem fit. And also in the future, content our team will be posting, including future webinars, we'll dive into chatbots a lot more, because it's definitely something that people are most interested in. The second feature I have to talk about is the CRM, the customer relationship management software that people use to, again, manage their customers' rich history, right? When you are calling them, you're collecting leads, you're learning about them more, like what their preferences, what they're trying to buy. And so when people have this system set up, like Salesforce CRM, for example, that we're actually working closely with, that you can read more on our WhatsApp business blog. But if you were to enable the CRM with WhatsApp business platform, you get to send them, for example, a message after they dropped an item into their cart, or send them a promotional message, or help them with delivery time and dates. That's one of the big integrations that we provide. Another feature I'd like to talk about is the website integration. You would like to, if you like in here I just showed you, you can have integration with your website experience. So as people are interacting with items on your page, on your e-commerce site, or whatever other site you might have, you get to send them the message, start that communication on a place, on the app that they're already using to talk to their families, friends. So that's, again, great way to get your customer relation to the next level. And the last thing I'll mention is basically the agent chat interface. Obviously, as we are using WhatsApp Business Platform, it's all about scale. So, which is very different from our other offerings like WhatsApp Business App that I'll talk about later on. But with the WhatsApp Business Platform, again, because of the scale and how many agents you might have, they have a special agent, human agent UI user interface, so they can talk to your customers if, again, programmatic way wasn't enough. So again, you can provide this full experience for your customers, and that's what WhatsApp Business Platform provides.
That is a very robust answer. We appreciate that. Dimitri, as a form of a follow-up to what you just described to us, is it possible for us to integrate WhatsApp Business, for example, with a third-party mobile app or e-commerce website or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you mean the particular CRM site or
Correct.
WhatsApp? Yeah, that's absolutely right. And as I mentioned, actually in the coming weeks, months, we'll be providing more and more content about the CRM integration. If you tune into the Dreamforce and you've been looking around, and as I mentioned, we just recently posted a blog on the WhatsApp Business blog about our new collaboration with Salesforce. And so you can easily integrate WhatsApp Business Platform with the CRM, like Salesforce. But there are obviously other options out there, open source solutions, open source CRMs that we are going to write more content about, so you can easily integrate it with whatever CRM of choice you have. And as I gave an example, right, if your customer were to, pick an item and add it to their cart, or they allocate it in, some country. Again, we are very international. Even this webinar, we have many attendees from different countries. So if your customer, let's say, is located in, in Belgium, and I'm currently based in US and I have a business running in the US, I want to make sure that customer in Belgium has all the information about the delivery that they'll be asking for in the follow-ups. And because I have this integration with CRM along with the WhatsApp Business Platform, I am able to communicate quickly, hopefully in even automated way, so they have all the answers they need to proceed and ultimately purchase an item on my e-commerce website. So yeah, that's definitely a huge use case for us to have the CRM integration with WhatsApp Business Platform.
That's incredible. So not only is it possible, it's also an incredible feature that is available to use. Thank you for sharing that with us. Another question that came up from our participants as they were registering for this webinar was, Dimitri, I want to allow my employees to provide customer service through WhatsApp. How do I provide them the access to do that?
Yes, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about earlier, where if you were to go to the WhatsApp for Business website, you will find that we have two main products. And that's also something we talk about in Meta Blueprint courses quite a bit. But basically, those products are WhatsApp Business App and WhatsApp Business Platform. This webinar was all about the platform. But if you were to look around, you would also hear this WhatsApp Business App. WhatsApp Business App is great for people just starting out, very small business, where you actually have an application, a real phone, single phone, where you get to interact with your customers. Again, it's a great start, but that you have to have a physical phone connected, have an app installed, and that's what you're going to communicate with your customers through. That's why WhatsApp Business Platform is really taking to the next level, scaling this communication, because there you can have as many phone numbers that you'd like. Obviously, if you reach like thousands and thousands of phone numbers, you might have to work out what I showed in the webinar with WhatsApp Business accounts. But ultimately, there's really no limit for you. And it's actually extremely common to have different phone numbers under the same WhatsApp business account. And as I showed you in the webinar, there was an UI to monitor these phone numbers. And it's very important to monitor them because with the WhatsApp business platform, we really take seriously the quality of communication. So that's what message templates are for, right? Because those are reviewed, approved. That's what we want to avoid, obviously, spamming. That's where there is a difference between business-initiated and user-initiated messages. With phone numbers, if you're using the phone number for business and it's been constantly reported or blocked by people, there's also a way to monitor that quality for you as a business. But again, as you're scaling, you get to add more phone numbers to your WhatsApp business platform. At the same time, you have to be very conscious of what you're doing with those phone numbers. How are you using them? You have to use them effectively and also keep an eye on the quality. And that's what you can learn more about in the coming webinars, but also on Meta Blueprint.
Perfect. So it sounds like not only does the business app allow for your employees or multiple people to use different numbers to then be able to service through your business, there's also a contingency plan there for things like you were mentioning, whether you have many different numbers or, if people are being blocked and there's a pattern that you see there. So that's interesting. I appreciate the way that you put that answer together for us, which then leads us to our next question. The question was asked to us like this: how do we connect multiple mobile numbers to a WhatsApp business account? And I know that you just alluded to it a little bit. Can you talk a little bit more about that, just having those multiple phone numbers in a WhatsApp business account?
Yes, so there are two primary ways to do that. First is through the UI. So if you were to go to the WhatsApp manager, again, I showed you during the webinar how to get there. You can get there from either your onboarding experience on the WhatsApp business platform, or you can go to your business manager, and from there you'll get to go to WhatsApp manager. Again, it's a UI, so you can monitor your phone numbers in one place. You can see their history. More importantly, you can see their quality. Again, if it's been constantly reported or blocked, you'll see the quality downgraded if it gets flagged. Another way is through WhatsApp Business Management API. Again, to learn more about that, tune into more webinars in the future, but also go to the Meta Blueprint, because again, we talked about that quite extensively. But ultimately, with the API, you can do everything you can do in the UI, right? Check the phone numbers, edit them, meaning add or remove from your account. You can monitor their status. So these are basically the ways to do it, through the API or through the UI, which is a great combination, I think.
That's perfect. And Dimitri, finally, one of the questions that was asked the most to us during this process was, what are the limitations? We're looking at features capacity, maybe number of batch messages and things of that nature. What are the limitations that come with using WhatsApp API?
That's a great question. I mean, we launched it, the Cloud API hosted by Meta. We just launched it in May of this year during the conversations. So as we're working more closely with our customers and our developers, we'll obviously continue to evolve the API. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a limitation. I would rather call it like work in progress for some areas. Obviously there are some right now, like, for example, if I showed you the message templates, there is really no way to edit them right now at the time of this recording. But of course, as we're working on that, we'll see what can be done there. But there's other processes, right? You can delete them, you can create a new ones, gets reviewed really quickly. So that's really not stopping people from using it, but it really makes you mindful on what you're creating. So, but again, I wouldn't call it a limitation right now. It's just one of the features that are not there yet. There are obviously messaging tiers. I've showed you a link to a pricing area. It kind of discusses the rate limits and how you're paying for things and how we measure messaging tiers. Again, this is what goes back to the quality of phone numbers, quality of your message templates, because if, again, the quality of your interaction is low, meaning, it can be spammy, or again, it's not good enough quality. People constantly reported your messaging tier in some potential situations might be lowered, which affects different areas of your usage of WhatsApp Business Platform. But for these details, I really invite you to go to our developer documentation. It has all of this explained, and for that, go to Meta for Developers, navigate to Docs, Documentation, and find WhatsApp Business Platform. And as Rafi mentioned, we'll also be sending some links following this webinar. If I were to talk again about other limitations, like how it's set, when we talk about webhooks, right? And I showed you during the webinar, there are two types of events it works with: verification events and event notifications. Verification is when you verify the webhook is actually the one you want to use. Event notifications is, in our case, the case of webinar, messages you receive. We actually do send them in batches. Can be a batch of up to like 1,000. Don't quote me on that number. I believe it's 1,000. I wrote it down before this webinar. But again, your primary reference is documentation. And so it sends them in batches. But the thing you have to keep an eye on is that webhooks with event notifications are great, but these events are counted towards your limit, the pricing, the things you pay for. That's where, when we monitor quality of your phones, message templates, you would rather use something else, like the webhooks rather than the API. Anyways, you can hear already that it gets confusing, because when we talk about these small details, you really have to go for references to documentation, developer documentation. And you can read all about that at Meta for Developers, or go to Meta Blueprint for those dedicated areas like WhatsApp Business Management API, the WhatsApp Business Platform itself, and future webinars as well.
Sensational, Dmitry. Thank you so much for that detailed information. Well, I want to thank everyone who joined us today. This has been invaluable. We sincerely hope that you have learned something today. You took something from this webinar session. We looked at many different aspects of the WhatsApp for business, right? Both in web and app. So, as we talked about using it for your business, how to use it, allowing your employees to use WhatsApp app, just the integration with CRM systems. We talked about just employees being able to utilize different numbers, and just that is a possibility, and how those different features kind of help you to run your business. Connecting numbers, it's basically, it means connecting people, and so it's interesting to see how that kind of plays out. And as Dmitry mentioned, not limitations, but areas of improvement that we still have and we're going to take care of. So we want to make sure that we tell you thank you. Thank you for coming. We're glad that you were here, glad that you were able to participate with us.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.